My beloved child, open this now. Do not set it aside. Do not bookmark it for later. Do not let the rush of your day pull you past this moment without receiving what I am delivering right now, in real time, as these words are arriving in your life. What I am declaring in this message is not for a future version of you. It is for the you who is reading this right now, in this moment, exactly as you are. A new car is arriving for you. A house is arriving for you. Both. Simultaneously. Right now. I want you to sit with those words for a moment before your mind starts doing what minds do. Analyzing, questioning, calculating the probability, reviewing the current state of your finances as evidence for or against what I just said. Before all of that begins, I want the words to land in the deepest part of you, in the place that knows my voice, that recognizes the resonance of divine truth, that doesn't need logic to confirm what the Spirit has already confirmed. Let them land there first. A car and a house, the two most significant material expressions of stability and provision in a human life. The car represents freedom of movement, the ability to go where you need to go, when you need to go there, without being dependent on systems and circumstances beyond your control. It represents the practical capacity to show up, at work, at appointments, at the places where the people and opportunities of your calling are located. It represents the dignity of having reliable transportation, the basic comfort of not having to worry about whether you will be able to get from where you are to where you need to be. The house represents everything I said earlier in this series about the significance of a dwelling place, stability, rootedness, the container for your private life and your family's flourishing, the foundation from which the next season of your purpose is launched. These two things together, car and house, represent provision at the most fundamental practical level of human material security. And both are arriving, not eventually, now. Open this quickly, because the window for full reception is here. Didn't you? In why these two things, and why now? My beloved child, you might be wondering why a car and a house specifically, why these two particular material provisions are the focus of this message rather than, say, a sum of money, or a business breakthrough, or some other form of financial provision. And I want to explain the significance of these two specific blessings because understanding why I am sending these things is part of receiving them in the right spirit. A car and a house are the provisions that most directly and practically address the quality of your daily life. They are not abstract financial improvements. They are tangible material improvements in the physical circumstances of your day-to-day existence. I care about the quality of your daily life. I care about the practical experience of living in the body, in the material world, that you inhabit every day. I am not only the God of the spiritual realm and the future eternity. I am the God who showed up in a body, who blessed weddings and fed thousands and healed physical ailments, who cares deeply about the material dimension of human life. A car says, I see that you have been limited in your movement. I see the practical difficulties that inadequate transportation has created in your life. The stress, the appointments missed or nearly missed, the energy spent managing around the lack of reliable transportation. And I am addressing it now. Not because transportation is the deepest spiritual matter in your life, but because it is a practical one, and practical limitations have spiritual weight. When the practical circumstances of your life are consistently difficult, the energy you spend managing them is energy that is unavailable for higher things. The car I am releasing addresses this drain on your practical life and frees the energy for the things that matter at a higher level. A house says, I see that you have not had the stable, rooted, settled place that allows the depth of life I designed you for to flourish. Whether you are currently renting in circumstances that feel unstable, or living in conditions that are beneath what your season requires, or navigating housing insecurity of some kind, I see it, and I am addressing it now. The house I am releasing is not just a roof over your head. It is the establishment of the foundation for the next season. It is the material expression of my commitment to your long-term stability and provision. Why now? Because the season is here. The preparation has been sufficient. The alignment is complete. And the specific combination of your readiness and my timing has created the window in which these particular provisions can be received. There is always a right time for things, and this, for you, is the right time for these. Comment now. I receive the car and the house that God is sending. They are arriving, and I am ready to receive them. Write this declaration with the settled confidence of someone who has heard from God about specific provision and has chosen to believe and align with what they heard. The speed of arrival. Why I said open quickly. My beloved child, I said open it quickly. And I want to explain the urgency behind that instruction, because urgency in divine messages is never arbitrary. It is always rooted in a real spiritual dynamic. The provision I am declaring, the car, the house, both arriving now, is at a specific moment in its approach to your material reality. It is close. It is not in some distant theoretical future where everything is uncertain. It is in the near term, the imminent, the just around the corner. And in the moments when provision is this close, the spiritual activity around it is at its most intense on both sides, my side and the enemy's side. My side of the intensity, the angelic activity, the alignment of circumstances, the convergence of divine orchestration is at its peak. The conditions for the fullest and fastest manifestation of this provision are optimally configured right now. The open quickly urgency is my way of saying, engage with this in the window of maximum alignment, not after it has passed. The enemy's side of the intensity. He is aware that something significant is approaching the delivery point, and his strategies to delay or disrupt are at their most active. He works on your thoughts, planning doubt, dismissal, rationalization. He works on your circumstances, creating distractions, manufacturing urgency elsewhere in your life, putting obstacles in the path of the practical steps associated with receiving the provision. He works on your time, getting you to put this off until later, to bookmark it and return to it after you have finished more pressing things, to treat the spiritual window as something that can be accessed at any convenient moment. Open quickly is the counter to all of this. It is the instruction to engage now, while the alignment is peak, while the angelic activity is maximum, while the window is fully open. Every minute of delay, not in the abstract, but in this specific high alignment moment, is a minute spent outside the peak window. The provision is real regardless, but the fullness and the speed of its manifestation are significantly enhanced by your engagement in the peak window rather than after it. So open this quickly, receive this quickly, declare this quickly, go to the first pinned comment quickly. Do these things now, in the window of maximum alignment, and receive the full benefit of the urgency that this moment offers. Comment now. I open quickly, I receive quickly, I declare quickly, the car and the house are mine now. This is your declaration of urgency-aligned engagement, the statement that you understand the window and you are engaging within it rather than after it. The practical journey from declaration to arrival. My beloved child, I want to speak about the practical journey between this declaration and the full manifestation of the car and the house. Because faith without understanding of how provision actually moves from the spiritual realm to the material realm can create confusion and discouragement when the timeline of manifestation does not match the expectation. The declaration you make today, a car and a house are arriving for me now, is real and it is powerful. But it initiates a process that unfolds in the natural world through the mechanisms of the natural world. The car and the house do not appear instantly in your driveway or at your door because you spoke a declaration. They arrive through a journey that begins in the spiritual realm with the release I have described and then moves through the natural realm through circumstances, opportunities, conversations, decisions, and divine orchestration of the practical details. What does this mean for how you engage with the days ahead? It means watching for the specific practical steps that lead toward the manifestation. The conversation that opens an opportunity. The unexpected provision that funds a necessary deposit or payment. The person who appears with information about a vehicle or a property that turns out to be exactly what you need. The decision that you thought was about something else that turns out to be the first step in the provision pathway for the car or the house. Watch for these. They are not random events. They are the practical manifestation of what was initiated spiritually in this message and in your response to it. It also means taking the practical steps you have available. If you need a car, begin the practical process of looking for one. Not with the anxiety of someone who has no resources, but with the expectation of someone who knows that what they need is on its way and who is engaging with the practical process that will allow it to arrive. If you need a house, begin the practical process of exploring what is available. not in desperation, but in faith-filled searching that is prepared to recognize the right thing when it appears. It also means staying in prayer over the specific practical steps and asking me to direct each one. Lord, guide me toward the car you have prepared. Guide me toward the house you have prepared. Let me recognize them when I encounter them. Let the right circumstances open at the right time. Let the practical pathway be clear. This prayer keeps you aligned with my guidance throughout the practical journey, ensuring that the steps you take are directed toward the specific provision I have prepared, rather than toward alternatives that seem good, but are not what I intend. Comment now. I take the practical steps in faith and watch for God's guidance on the journey to the car and the house. Let this be your commitment to the combination of faith and practical engagement that characterizes the person who receives what has been declared. To what comes with the car and the house. My beloved child, I want to speak about what comes with the car and the house, because these provisions do not arrive as isolated material blessings. They arrive as part of a package, with spiritual dimensions and relational dimensions and purpose dimensions that make them more significant than their material value alone. With the car comes freedom, not just freedom of physical movement, though that is real and significant. The freedom I am speaking of is a broader spiritual and practical freedom, the sense of being unbound, of having the capacity to go where I direct without being limited by practical constraints. This freedom will express itself not only in your daily transportation, but in a new sense of agency in your life, the feeling that the practical limitations that have been constraining the expression of your calling and your life are being removed. The car is both a practical provision and a symbol of a larger freedom that the season is bringing. With the house comes covering, not just a physical roof, though that is real and significant. The covering I am speaking of is a spiritual covering, the sense of being under a protective structure, of having a defined domain that is yours, over which you have authority, which you can consecrate to me and declare as a place of my presence. A house is a spiritual territory as well as a physical one. When you receive the house, you receive the territory that comes with it, the ability to establish a specific sphere of the natural world as a consecrated space, a place where my presence is welcomed and maintained, a base of operations for the calling and the ministry of your life. With both comes confirmation. The arrival of these specific material provisions in your life will be one of the most unmistakable confirmations of everything else I have been speaking over you, about the preparation season, about the transformation that is coming, about my faithfulness and my attention to the details of your daily life. When the car arrives and the house arrives, they arrive as proof. Not just proof that I provide materially, but proof of the entire narrative, of the preparation that was real, of the promise that was real, of the timing that was real, of the God who speaks and then delivers on what he speaks. Let this confirmation build your faith for what comes after, because the car and the house are not the ceiling of this season's provision. They are the first major visible expressions of a transformation that continues to unfold. After the car and the house come the other things that have been prepared, the financial increase, the relational flourishing, the expansion of calling, the opportunities that were waiting for the foundation to be established. The car and the house are the foundation-setting provisions. What comes after is built on them. Comment now. I receive the car and the house and everything that comes with them. Freedom, covering, and confirmation. Let this be your comprehensive declaration of reception, not just of the material items, but of the full spiritual package that accompanies them. Open it quickly, the final call. My beloved child, I opened this message with, open it quickly, and I am closing it with the same urgency, but now with the full weight of everything that has been spoken in the intervening time. You have heard about the car, you have heard about the house. You have heard about the window of alignment and why speed matters. You have heard about the practical journey from declaration to arrival. You have heard about what comes with each provision. You have heard the full message. Now open it quickly. The gift that has been placed in the first pinned comment. The code of divine inheritance. How to activate the abundance that is already yours. This is the activation resource for the car and the house and everything else that has been released in this message. It contains the specific declarations, the specific prayers, the specific kingdom principles that will ensure the full and timely manifestation of what has been declared. Do not exit this message without receiving it. And also in the first pinned comment, the membership invitation. The invitation to the deeper access, to the community that walks this road consistently, to the reserved messages that are not publicly available. If the transformation that is beginning in your life through these messages is real to you, and it is, because you stopped, because you stayed, because you felt the resonance, then step into the deeper engagement that the membership offers. This is not a subscription. This is a choice to walk closely with the ongoing revelation that I am releasing, to receive it consistently rather than occasionally, to be part of the community of people who take these words seriously and act on them. Comment now, one final time. The car is arriving. The house is arriving. I open quickly and I receive everything God has declared. Write this as your final declaration of the message. The seal on everything that has been spoken. The commitment to full reception of the full provision. Open it quickly. The moment is here. The car is on its way. The house is on its way. Both are arriving right now. Receive them with open hands, a ready heart, and the full expectation of someone who has heard from God and has chosen to believe. Go to the first pinned comment now. The activation tools are there. Everything you need is waiting for you. Open it quickly. The kingdom law of overflow. My beloved child, there is a principle that governs the economy of heaven that I want to speak to you about today. A law that, when fully understood and properly engaged with, changes the entire experience of financial life in ways that go far beyond any single provision or breakthrough. I call it the law of overflow. It operates on a simple but profound principle. In my kingdom, provision is not designed to merely satisfy need. It is designed to overflow. Every resource I release into a person's life is calculated not for sufficiency, but for abundance, for the specific kind of abundance that not only meets the need of the receiver, but has surplus remaining for the overflow into the lives of others. When the children of Israel were in the wilderness, I provided manna. But I did not provide exactly enough manna for each day. I provided enough that when they gathered according to their families, they found that everyone had what they needed and there was none left over. This was not accidental. It was the daily re-establishment of the principle that my provision is precisely calibrated, not running out and not resulting in waste, but landing exactly at the point of sufficiency without shortchanging anyone. And when the abundant seasons came, when the land flowed with milk and honey, the principle was the same but at a different level. More than enough, with room to share. This overflow design is not incidental to my character, it is central to it. I am a God of more than enough because more than enough is what creates the conditions for generosity, and generosity is one of the most powerful expressions of my nature available through human beings. When you operate in overflow, when you have more than you need, rather than barely what you need, you have the capacity to be generous. And generosity is one of the most transformative spiritual forces available in the human experience. It transforms the giver. It transforms the receiver. It transforms the spiritual atmosphere of any community in which it operates. The provision that is coming to you, the breakthrough you are standing at the threshold of, is overflow provision. Not barely enough. Not grudgingly given. Not the minimum required for your basic needs to be met. Overflow. Designed for you and for the people in your sphere who will be impacted by the overflow from what I release into your life. This understanding should change how you receive. Do not receive into a closed container, receive into an open one. Do not receive with the grip of hoarding, but with the open hands of a steward who knows that what flows through them is part of a larger current. When you receive in this posture, you cooperate with the overflow design and position yourself for continued increasing provision. Comment now. I receive into an open container. I am a vessel of God's overflow provision. Write this as your declaration of alignment with the kingdom law of overflow, your commitment to receiving, yes, but also to being a channel through which the overflow of what you receive reaches others. And in the first pinned comment, the code of divine inheritance, how to activate the abundance that is already yours, contains the principles that govern this kind of overflow receiving. Go there now, receive what has been placed there for you, and consider joining the community, the membership that gives you deeper access, more consistent messages, and the fellowship of those who are walking this journey with the same seriousness and commitment you are bringing to it. Both are in the first pinned comment. Both are for you. When the breakthrough arrives, how to respond. My beloved child, I want to prepare you for the moment of breakthrough, the moment when what has been declared begins to visibly manifest in your material circumstances. Because how you respond to the arrival of breakthrough is one of the most critically important spiritual moments in the entire journey, and I want you to be ready for it. The moment of breakthrough will likely arrive with some element of surprise, not the surprise of something you could not have expected at all, since you have received these messages, but the surprise of the specific form it takes, the specific timing, the specific channel through which it comes. Even when you know a breakthrough is coming, the actual moment of its arrival tends to land with a quality of unexpected grace, a feeling of, oh, so this is how it was going to happen, that is part of the experience of encountering divine creativity. When it arrives, here is how to respond. First, stop. In the rush of life, it is easy to receive a blessing without fully receiving it, to acknowledge it briefly and immediately pivot to the next task, the next need, the next concern. Do not do this. When the breakthrough arrives, stop, even for a few minutes. Stop, look at what has arrived, and let it be real to you before you do anything with it. Second, give thanks. Before you make any decisions about what to do with the provision, before you call anyone, before you start planning, give thanks, out loud if possible. Say, Lord, I see what you have done. I receive it as being from your hand. Thank you. Thank you for the provision, for the faithfulness, for the timing, for the specific form in which this arrived. Thank you. Gratitude in the moment of arrival is one of the most important acts of faith you can perform, because it acknowledges me as the source and opens the channel for what follows. Third, be still before you act. After gratitude, before action, be still for a moment with me. Ask, Lord, what do you want me to do with what you have just given me? How do you want me to steward this? What comes next? The instruction I give in that moment of stillness after the breakthrough will be some of the most important guidance you receive in the entire provision season. Do not skip it. Fourth, tell the story. When the breakthrough has settled and you have had time to steward it wisely, tell the story. Share with others that God provided, that the breakthrough came, that what was declared was real. Your testimony is not for you alone. It is for the person who is 3 months behind you in the process, who needs to hear that it is real, that God keeps His word, that the waiting produced what was promised. Comment now. When my breakthrough arrives, I will stop, give thanks, be still, and tell the story. Let this be your preparation declaration, the commitment to respond to the breakthrough in the way that maximizes its impact on your life and on the lives of others. It's standing firm when the manifestation is delayed. My beloved child, I want to speak to you about one of the most challenging aspects of the receiving season, the period between the declaration of a breakthrough and its full visible manifestation. This is the period that tries faith most severely, because the gap between what has been declared and what is visible can feel, if you are not spiritually prepared for it, like evidence that the declaration was false. It is not. Let me say that with all the authority of heaven behind it, a delay in the visible manifestation of a declared breakthrough is not evidence that the breakthrough is not coming. It is evidence of the time it takes for what has been established in the spiritual realm to complete the journey through the natural processes of the material world. And that journey always takes more time than the immediacy of the declaration might suggest. Consider how long a seed is underground before it breaks the surface. The planting of the seed happens in a moment. The declaration of a harvest is implicit in the very act of planting. But the time between the planting and the emergence from the soil is often long, and during that time, there is no visible evidence that anything is happening. The soil looks exactly as it did before. The ground is unchanged in appearance, and yet, beneath the surface, something extraordinary is in motion. The seed is germinating, the root is developing, the shoot is forming, all invisible, all real, all in process. The breakthrough you have declared over your life is a seed that was planted when you received these messages and aligned your faith with what I spoke. The harvest is real. The breakthrough is real. But the time between the planting and the visible emergence is part of the process, and it requires something from you that perhaps nothing else in life develops as thoroughly: the patient faith that holds steady in the absence of visible evidence. How do you hold steady? By reminding yourself, in the moments when doubt presses in, of what you know rather than what you feel. You know that God does not lie. You know that what was declared with authority. You know that your faith is connected to a provision that is real and in motion. These things you know. They are the anchor. When the feelings say, nothing is happening, the knowing says, yes it is, even though I cannot see it. You also hold steady by maintaining the practices, the morning declarations, the prayer of alignment, the expectation carried into each day that keep you in the posture of receiving rather than the posture of giving up. These practices are not optional extras during the waiting period. They are the primary mechanism by which you maintain the spiritual alignment that the provision pathway requires for complete manifestation. Comment now. I hold steady in the gap between declaration and manifestation. My faith does not require visible evidence to stand. Write this as the declaration of a person who has graduated from faith as feeling to faith as conviction, the faith that is not dependent on the immediate gratification of visible result, but that holds to what is known about the nature of the God who declared it. The testimony that will follow. My beloved child, let me paint for you a picture of something that is coming, not the breakthrough itself, which I have already described, but what comes after the breakthrough has fully manifested and settled into your life. The testimony. The testimony is the story you tell when someone asks, how did this change happen in your life? How did you go from where you were to where you are now? And the answer you give will be one of the most powerful things you ever speak, because it will carry within it the evidence of a living God who speaks into people's lives through moments like this one, who provides in ways that defy natural explanation, who honors the faith of those who hold on. The testimony will be specific. It will not be a vague, I trusted God and things got better. It will be precise. I was in a season that felt like it would never end. I received a word, I heard a declaration that something was about to change. I chose to believe it, to declare it, to act on it, even when nothing visible confirmed it for a period of time. And then, in a way that I could not have engineered, things began to shift. Provisions arrived from sources I did not expect. Doors opened that I had not knocked on. Circumstances aligned in ways that I could not attribute to my own cleverness or effort. And I know that what I had been told was real, that the God who spoke was the God who delivered, that the declaration was not empty words, it was the advance announcement of what was already written. That testimony will reach people. It will reach the person who is in the middle of their own waiting season and who desperately needs to hear that it ends, that the waiting produces what was promised, that the faithful holding on leads to the breakthrough that was declared. It will reach the skeptic who needs evidence of a God who is real and active and specific. It will reach the parent who is fighting for their child, the worker who is standing on a word about provision, the person who is one step from giving up on the promise they received. Your testimony is not just for you, it is for the entire sphere of influence your life touches, and it will echo beyond even what you can currently imagine. Carry it in advance. Even before it is fully formed, carry the expectation of the testimony you will give. Let it be part of what sustains you in the waiting. The knowledge that not only is the breakthrough coming for your own sake, but that what God does in your life in this season will become the testimony that builds someone else's faith. Comment now. My breakthrough is coming and my testimony is being written. I will tell what God did. Let this be your advanced declaration of the testimony, your commitment to both receive the breakthrough and to tell its story when the time comes. And now, my beloved child, one final time go to the first pinned comment. The gift that has been placed there, the code of divine inheritance, how to activate the abundance that is already yours, is the practical guide for everything I have spoken in this message. Every principle, every declaration, every spiritual strategy for receiving and maintaining the breakthrough, it is there. And with it, the membership invitation, the deeper access, the community, the reserved messages, the ongoing stream of revelation for the journey. Both are there. Both are for you. Receive them. Step into the fullness of this season with everything heaven has provided. The breakthrough is real. The testimony is coming. The God who declared it is faithful. And you, my beloved, chosen, prepared child, are ready to receive and to tell what he does. Findri. The spiritual atmosphere around your breakthrough. My beloved child, I want to speak to you about the spiritual atmosphere that surrounds the kind of breakthrough I have declared over your life, because atmosphere is not abstract. It is a real operative condition in the spiritual realm that affects how quickly and how fully breakthroughs manifest in the natural world. Think of atmosphere in the physical world. A seed placed in the wrong atmospheric conditions, too cold, too dry, too dark, will not germinate and grow, no matter how good the soil is, and no matter how much potential the seed contains. The atmosphere has to be right. The temperature, humidity, light, and nutrient conditions have to align with the seed's requirements for the seed's potential to be expressed. In the same way, in the spiritual realm, there is an atmosphere that either accelerates or impedes the manifestation of breakthrough. This atmosphere is created by a combination of factors, some of which I control entirely, some of which are influenced by the spiritual engagement of the person receiving the breakthrough. The factors I control include the timing I have appointed, the level of angelic activity I have authorized, the specific spiritual conditions I have established around your situation. These are in place. They are favorable. They are active. The factors that you influence include the spiritual atmosphere you create through your declarations, your prayers, your worship, your gratitude, your choices of faith over fear. Every declaration you speak creates a current in the spiritual atmosphere around your life that moves in the direction of the breakthrough. Every prayer of alignment sets a spiritual condition that facilitates the manifestation. Every act of worship, especially worship offered when circumstances are difficult and visible, evidence of blessing is scarce, creates a particular spiritual potency in the atmosphere that I respond to, with an acceleration of what has been prepared. The enemy, by contrast, works to create atmospheric interference. He introduces the frequencies of doubt, fear, and unbelief into your spiritual atmosphere. He arranges circumstances designed to cool the temperature of your faith and darken the light of your expectation. His strategy is atmospheric. He works to create conditions in your spiritual environment that are inhospitable to the seed of your breakthrough. Your response to this atmospheric warfare is not complicated. It is simply the consistent choice to maintain the posture of faith through declaration, prayer, gratitude, and worship that keeps the spiritual atmosphere around your life favorable to the breakthrough that is in process. You cannot control all the external circumstances, but you can control the internal atmosphere you create through your spiritual engagement. Comment now: I maintain the spiritual atmosphere of faith, gratitude, and expectation around my breakthrough. Let this be your commitment to the atmospheric maintenance that accelerates manifestation. And in the first pinned comment, receive the code of divine inheritance, how to activate the abundance that is already yours. This is your guide to maintaining the spiritual atmosphere that accelerates your breakthrough from this moment forward. Receive it now. Chapter: The people who will be part of your breakthrough. My beloved child, I want to speak to you about the human dimension of the breakthrough I have declared over your life, specifically about the people who are going to be involved in it. Because very few significant breakthroughs arrive without the involvement of other human beings as instruments of the provision. There are specific people who are, right now, being positioned in your life as instruments of the breakthrough that has been declared. Not all of them have been placed there, yet some are coming, some are already present. But I want to give you a framework for recognizing them and engaging with them in the way that maximizes the provision they are meant to carry. The first category is the advisor, the person who carries specific knowledge, expertise, or wisdom that is directly relevant to the next steps of your breakthrough. This person may appear as a professional, a mentor, a resource person, or simply someone in your circle who has knowledge in an area you need. When the advisor appears, receive their input with genuine openness rather than defensive skepticism. What they carry is part of what I have prepared for this season. The second category is the connector, the person who knows someone who has the key piece you need. The connector's value is not in what they themselves carry, but in the connections they can make. These people appear in apparently casual circumstances, a chance conversation, a social encounter, an unexpected introduction, but the connection they facilitate is far from casual. It is divinely orchestrated. When a connector appears, invest in the relationship. Follow the connection they offer. The next person in the chain is often where the provision actually lives. The third category is the encourager, the person who appears in moments when your faith is flagging and says exactly what you need to hear. Not always in a specifically spiritual way, not always with the language of prophecy or prayer, sometimes simply a person who speaks life into the specific discouragement you are carrying in a particular moment. This kind of person is a grace agent, deployed by me at the moments when the gap between the declaration and the manifestation is most challenging. Watch for all three categories. Receive them with openness. Do not dismiss the advisor as presumptuous. Do not overlook the connector's seemingly casual connections. Do not take for granted the encourager's timely words. All of them are instruments of the breakthrough, and the receptiveness with which you receive them directly affects how effectively they can play their appointed role. Comment now. I receive the people God is sending as instruments of my breakthrough. I am open and attentive. Let this declaration prepare your spirit to recognize and receive the human instruments of your provision. May fear be your in 7 daily declarations for the breakthrough season. My beloved child, I want to leave you with 7 specific declarations that I am calling you to speak daily throughout the breakthrough season, 1 for each day of the week, 1 for each dimension of the transformation that has been declared. These are not formulas. They are faith expressions, specific, targeted alignments of your spoken faith with the reality that heaven has established. The first declaration, speak it on day 1 and every day 1 after. My financial provision has been released from heaven. It is in motion toward me. I receive it now, and I will receive it in every form God chooses to send it. My finances are transformed permanently and completely by the authority of God's declaration over my life. The second declaration, day 2, my mind is healed. The scarcity thinking that formed in the season of difficulty has been replaced by the abundance orientation that aligns with God's nature. I think from provision, not from lack. I plan from faith, not from fear. My mind is renewed and ready to steward what God is releasing. The third declaration, day 3. The physical provisions that God has prepared for me, the house, the car, the dwelling, and the freedom of movement that support the full expression of my life, are on their way. They are real, they are specific, they are assigned to my name. I receive them now. The fourth declaration, day 4. Every person who is an instrument of my breakthrough is being positioned. Every advisor, every connector, every encourager that God has prepared is entering my path at the appointed time. I am alert, open, and receptive to every human instrument of my provision. The fifth declaration, day 5. The spiritual atmosphere around my life is favorable to my breakthrough. I maintain this atmosphere through my declarations, my prayers, my worship, and my gratitude. The enemy's interference is dismantled. The pathway of provision is clear. The sixth declaration, day 6. The angels assigned to my breakthrough are fully operational. Every door that needs to be opened is being opened. Every obstacle that needs to be removed is being removed. The angelic activity on my behalf is comprehensive and effective. The seventh declaration, day 7. I am an heir, not a beggar. I am a future millionaire in God's kingdom, not a victim of lack. My worth is established by God's grace, not by my performance. I receive fully, without minimization, without unworthiness, without the filters of doubt or fear. All that God has declared is mine. Speak these 7 declarations, my child. Speak them with faith and with conviction. Let them become the spiritual soundtrack of your breakthrough season, the consistent daily alignment of your voice with heaven's reality that keeps the provision channel open and the manifestation accelerating. Comment now. I commit to the 7 daily declarations. I speak them in faith every day. Let this be your commitment to the practice that sustains the breakthrough from its first signs through its full manifestation. And in the first pinned comment, one more time, go and receive the Code of Divine Inheritance, how to activate the abundance that is already yours. Let this resource be the companion of your 7 daily declarations, the deeper framework that supports the practice you are committing to, and the membership invitation, the community, the reserved messages, the deeper access. Step into it all. Your breakthrough season is here. Your declarations are powerful. Your spiritual atmosphere is being maintained. The people are being positioned. The angels are deployed. And the God who declared all of it is faithful. Walk in it, speak it daily, and receive the fullness of what has been prepared for you. Monday, Dean. The covenant foundation of every financial blessing. My beloved child, I want to speak to you about something that is more foundational than any specific financial provision I have named Al-Bao. Something that makes every provision sustainable, every breakthrough permanent, and every abundance genuine rather than hollow. I want to speak to you about the covenant. Every financial blessing that flows from heaven into a person's life does so through a channel. That channel is not created by the right combination of prayers spoken at the right time, not by performing the right rituals or following the right formulas, not by the quantity of declarations made or the intensity of the faith expressed. The channel is covenant, the relationship established between you and me through Jesus Christ, that defines you as my child, my heir, and my instrument in the world. When I release provision into your life, I do so as a father releasing resources to a child who carries his name and participates in his purposes. This is categorically different from a generic universe responding to positive thinking, or luck favoring someone who happened to be in the right place at the right time, or a mechanical spiritual law rewarding correct behavior. This is personal. This is relational. This is the outworking of a specific, named, documented covenant between you and me, one that was sealed in blood, the blood of my Son, Jesus Christ, and that carries all the terms and guarantees of the most binding agreement that has ever existed. Understanding this changes everything about how you relate to the provision that has been declared. You are not receiving it as a reward that you earned. You are not receiving it as a lottery win that you happen to qualify for. You are receiving it as a covenant child receiving their covenant inheritance, the resources that belong to you by virtue of who your Father is and what He has said about you. This posture, the posture of a covenant heir rather than a reward seeker, is one of the most important shifts you can make in your relationship with provision. What does covenant inheritance look like in practical spiritual terms? It means that your access to provision is not contingent on your performance in any given period. A child does not lose their inheritance because they had a bad week. A child does not become less of an heir because their faith wobbled during a difficult season. The covenant is the covenant, It does not fluctuate based on the heir's daily performance. What it does require is ongoing relationship, the continued choosing of the Father, the continued walking in the ways of the household, the continued acknowledgement of the source of all provision. These are not performance requirements. They are the natural expressions of the relationship itself. You do not perform for me in order to receive. You walk with me because you love me, and in that walking, the provision flows. The enemy works very hard to get you to misunderstand this. He tries to insert a performance mentality into your relationship with provision, to make you feel that the provision is contingent on your level of faith, on whether you prayed enough today, on whether you confessed the right things, on whether you have any unaddressed sin or failure in your life. This performance mentality creates a perpetual state of anxiety and uncertainty about your standing with me, and that anxiety is one of the most effective tools he has for closing the channel of provision. Reject this. Rest in the covenant. Your access to provision is not determined by your performance today, It is determined by the covenant that was established before you were born, ratified by the blood of Christ, and sealed by the Holy Spirit who lives in you. That covenant cannot be revoked by your failures. It cannot be diminished by your doubts. It cannot be delayed by the enemy beyond what my wisdom allows. It is secure, and in its security, the provision it carries is secure too. Comment now. I rest in the covenant. My access to God's provision is sealed and secure. I receive as a covenant heir. I write this with the settled confidence of someone who has understood what covenant means and who has chosen to stand on its foundation rather than on the shifting ground of daily performance and self-assessment. The multiplication principle, why one breakthrough leads to many. My beloved child, I want to speak to you about something that the breakthrough season you are entering carries with it, a principle that, once activated, produces a momentum of provision that exceeds what any single breakthrough alone could generate. I call it the multiplication principle, and understanding it will shift how you approach the days that follow the first visible manifestation of what has been declared. The multiplication principle operates this way: when you receive the first expression of a breakthrough, the first measurable, visible manifestation of the provision that has been declared, and you respond to it in the ways I am about to describe, that first expression becomes a seed for the next, and the next becomes a seed for the one after. And each expression of blessing, properly received and properly stewarded, generates conditions that produce more blessing in an accelerating cycle. This is how I designed the blessing economy, not as a series of independent, isolated events. One blessing here, another much later, each standing alone, but as a compounding cycle, a snowball rolling downhill, a fire that, once properly lit, generates the heat to sustain and expand itself. Why does this work this way? Because blessing received with gratitude increases your capacity to receive. Because provision properly stewarded creates conditions for more provision. Because generosity expressed in response to blessing opens spiritual channels that cannot be opened by any other means. Because testimony given publicly about what I have done creates faith in others that then creates the spiritual atmospheric conditions for more of the same to happen, not just in your life, but in the lives of those who hear the testimony. The first thing you must do when the breakthrough arrives is receive it with the maximized gratitude I have spoken about throughout these messages. Not a polite, "Thank you, God," offered briefly before you move on. A genuine, extended, specific, public expression of gratitude. Gratitude that names what was received, names me as the source, and declares the reality of what has happened clearly and without embarrassment. This maximized gratitude is the first seed planted for the next expression of the breakthrough cycle. The second thing you must do is share the testimony. Tell someone. Not everyone, our wisdom governs who you share what with, but someone who will receive it with faith and who needs to hear it. A friend who is in a difficult season. A family member who has been doubting. Someone in your circle who needs the specific encouragement that comes from hearing that a real person they know experienced the real provision of a real God. That testimony planted in their soil produces faith, and the faith it produces returns to you in amplified form as part of the spiritual atmosphere that surrounds your ongoing breakthrough cycle. The third thing you must do is invest some of the first blessing toward the next one. I am not speaking of a specific percentage or a formula, I am speaking of the wisdom to not consume the entire first expression of provision without directing some portion of it toward the future. This might mean saving a portion. It might mean investing a portion in an opportunity that represents the next step in the calling. It might mean giving generously to someone or something in a way that plants seed for the next harvest. The specific direction is mine to give you but the principle of investing from the first harvest toward the next is universal. Comment now. I receive the first breakthrough and I plant it forward. I activate the multiplication cycle. Let this declaration be your commitment to engaging with the multiplication principle, rather than simply consuming the first breakthrough without planting for what follows. Hearing God's voice about your finances. My beloved child, one of the most practical and powerful things you can develop in this season of financial transformation is the ability to hear my voice specifically about your finances. Not just general spiritual impressions, specific guidance about specific decisions, specific directions about specific opportunities, specific instructions about specific resources. I speak about money. I speak about investments. I speak about giving. I speak about timing, when to move, when to hold, when to act boldly, and when to wait patiently. I speak about people, who to trust with your resources and who to hold at arm's length. I speak about opportunities, which are genuinely from me and which are the enemy's counterfeits, designed to look like provision but leading to loss. My voice is available to you in all of these areas, and learning to hear it specifically about your finances is one of the most practical forms of spiritual development you can pursue. How do you cultivate this ability? Several practices. The first is bringing your financial decisions to me explicitly, not just generally. When you face a financial decision, large or small, bring it specifically to me. Not in a vague, "Lord, bless my finances" way, but with the specific details of the decision. The amount, the opportunity, the timing, the people involved. Say, "Lord, here is the specific decision I am facing. What do you say about it? Show me your perspective. Give me clarity." Then wait, not indefinitely, but with genuine attentiveness, for the response. The response may come as a sense of peace or unease, as a thought that arrives fully formed, as a scripture that becomes suddenly relevant, as a word from someone in your life, or as a circumstance that clarifies the direction. The second practice is maintaining a financial journal. Record the specific impressions you receive when you bring financial decisions to me. Note the decisions you made in alignment with what you heard and the outcomes they produced. Note also the decisions you made against the impression you received and the outcomes of those. Over time, this journal builds a personal record of how I speak to you about money. Wows. The specific patterns, the specific channels, the specific ways my voice comes to you in this area of your life. This record becomes one of the most practically valuable spiritual resources you possess. The third practice is building the habit of gratitude as a daily financial practice. Spending a few minutes every morning intentionally naming the financial provisions of the previous day and giving thanks for each one specifically. This practice trains your attention toward the evidence of my provision in your daily life, which in turn trains your ear to hear my voice in the financial realm more clearly. Gratitude opens spiritual ears. Comment now. I will bring every financial decision to God and develop my ability to hear His voice in this area. Write this as your commitment to the practice of hearing God specifically about money. The practice that makes every financial decision a spiritual act of alignment rather than a merely human calculation. The provision that is already moving toward you. My beloved child, I want to speak to you very specifically about the provision that is already in motion toward your life. Not the provision that is merely possible, not the provision that might come if the right conditions are met, but the provision that has already been dispatched, that is already in the process of its journey from the place where it was prepared to the place where you stand waiting to receive it. Think of a ship that has been loaded with cargo and sent from a distant port. The cargo has been prepared, selected, and assigned to you. The ship has been loaded. The captain has received the instructions. The departure has happened. The ship is on the water, in motion, covering the distance between the port of origin and the harbor of your life. It has not arrived yet. The journey takes time, but the arrival is certain. The cargo is real. The ship is moving. The only question is how many miles remain between where the ship is now and where your harbor is. This is the state of the provision I have declared over your life. It is not in the harbor yet or not fully visible in your material circumstances, but it is on the water. The ship has departed. The cargo was loaded. The assignment was made. And with every day that passes, the distance between the provision and its destination decreases. What does this mean for how you wait? You do not wait with the anxiety of someone who is not sure whether the ship will ever come, who watches the horizon with fear rather than faith, who grows despondent when another day passes without a sail on the horizon. You wait as someone who knows the ship is on its way, who watches the horizon with expectant eyes, who prepares the harbor for the arrival that is certain, who organizes what will be needed for unloading and stewarding the cargo when it arrives. Prepare your harbor. This means get your practical and spiritual house in order in advance of the arrival. Make space in your life for the provision that is coming. Clear the clutter of old scarcity habits, old limiting beliefs, old patterns of management that will not serve you well in the season of abundance. Prepare your thinking. Prepare your relationships. Prepare your stewardship practices. Let the preparation of the harbor be itself an act of faith, a declaration in the material realm that you expect the ship to arrive and you are ready to receive its cargo. Watch for the early signs of approach. In the days and weeks ahead, you will begin to see signs that the ship is nearing towards you. Early indicators that the provision is approaching the harbor of your life. These are the signs I have described throughout these messages. The shift in opportunity, the divine appointments, the unusual clarity, the peace that does not match the circumstances. When you see these signs, they are the equivalent of the ship's flag appearing on the horizon. Read you, confirmation that what you were told is real and the arrival is imminent. Comment now. The ship is on its way. My harbor is prepared. I watch with expectant faith for what is coming. Let this declaration be the posture you carry into every day of this season. The faith of one who knows that the cargo is real and the arrival is certain. From the final word. Everything declared is real. My beloved child, I want to close this message with the simplest and most important declaration I can make. Everything I have declared over your life in this message is real. Not aspirational, not metaphorical, not the spiritual equivalent of positive thinking dressed in religious language. Real, actual. True in the same way that the physical world around you is true, in the same way that your own heartbeat is true, in the same way that the love you feel for the people closest to you is true. The provision is real, the breakthrough is real, the financial transformation is real. The blessing that is in motion toward your life is as real as anything you have ever touched or seen. I say this because I know the voice that will follow this message is the voice that says, "That was beautiful, but is it actually true? Is it really for me? Can I really expect what was described to actually happen in my specific, difficult, complicated life?" That voice is the enemy's voice, and his goal is to create distance between the truth that has been spoken and the faith that would allow it to fully manifest. Close that distance. Choose right now to accept the reality of what has been declared over the skepticism the enemy will offer. Not through forced credulity or not by telling yourself to believe something you have no basis for, but through the informed faith of someone who has heard the voice of God and recognized it. You recognized it. Something in you resonated with this message in a way that goes beyond information. That resonance is the witness of your spirit to the truth of what has been spoken. Trust it. And now, my beloved child, act on it. Do not let this message end with admiration, but not engagement. Here is what to do right now, before you move on to the next thing. First, write in the comments. Use the declarations you have been given throughout this message. Speak your faith publicly, even if only in a comment. I receive everything God has declared. My provision is real, and it is on its way. Let your comment be the public declaration that seals the private resonance of this message in your life. Second, go to the first pinned comment. Everything that has been prepared for this moment is there. The code of divine inheritance. How to activate the abundance that is already yours. This is the resource that takes the declarations of this message and gives them the practical framework to produce lasting results. It is there for you. It has been placed there specifically because this moment, the moment you finish this message, the moment you are deciding whether to act or to move on, is the moment it was designed for. Go, receive it. Third, consider the membership. In the first pinned comment, there is also an invitation, not to a subscription in the commercial sense, but to a closer walk, to access that is deeper, to messages that are reserved for those who have chosen to go beyond the surface level of casual engagement with these truths, and into the sustained, deepening relationship with the revelation I am releasing. If your heart is being drawn to go deeper, if you want the consistent companionship of these messages rather than the occasional encounter, the membership is for you. The invitation is there. Receive it. Everything declared is real. The ship is on its way. The provision is in motion. The harbor is ready. And you, the one who stopped, who stayed, who recognized the truth and chose to align with it, are standing exactly where you are supposed to stand, in exactly the right season, to receive exactly what has been prepared. Receive it. Now. It is real, and it is yours. The atmosphere of expectation. How to sustain it. My beloved child, there is a spiritual atmosphere that surrounds people who are living in genuine expectation of what God has promised. And that atmosphere is not passive. It is active, creative, and contagious. It changes the environment around you. It attracts what it is tuned to. It repels what is not aligned with its frequency. When you walk in genuine expectation, not manufactured positivity, not forced enthusiasm, but the settled, deep assurance of someone who knows the Father has spoken and what the Father speaks comes to pass. You become a magnet for the provisions of God. The people who carry the keys to the next door are drawn to you. The opportunities that carry the specific resources you need begin to orbit your life. The divine appointments multiply. This is not spiritual fantasy at all. It is the consistent testimony of everyone who has learned to maintain genuine expectation through difficult circumstances and who has watched the atmosphere of that expectation begin to reshape reality around them. How do you build and sustain this atmosphere? By returning, daily, to the truth. Not by forcing yourself to feel what you do not feel, but by consistently choosing to speak the truth aloud rather than the appearance. By refusing to let the gap between what has been declared and what is currently visible become the primary lens through which you interpret your life. By actively cultivating gratitude for what already is, while actively expecting what is yet to come. The atmosphere of expectation is built incrementally, not in a single dramatic moment of decision, but in the daily choices to speak truth, to practice gratitude, to maintain posture. And as it is built, it begins to shape the space around you in ways that become increasingly visible. Comment now. I build and maintain the atmosphere of expectation. I choose truth over appearance, faith over fear. Let this be the commitment that governs the atmosphere of your daily life from this day forward. The testimony that unlocks more. My beloved child, there is a particular kind of spiritual currency that you carry once you have received a breakthrough, and that currency is your testimony. The story of what happened to you, of what was declared and then manifested, of the gap that was crossed between declaration and visible reality, is one of the most powerful resources you possess in the kingdom economy. When shared, your testimony does several things simultaneously. It gives glory to me, which is its most important function, the declaration, in words that others hear, that I am real, that I act, that what I say I do, that the God of the Bible is the same God who is active in the 21st century in the lives of ordinary people. This matters enormously. The world is full of voices saying that I am absent, irrelevant, or a comforting fiction for those who cannot face reality without the security blanket of religion. Your testimony is a specific, factual, personal counter-testimony to that narrative. When shared, your testimony also plants seeds of faith in the people who hear it, faith that may produce the breakthrough in their life that your breakthrough produced in yours. There is a multiplying quality to genuine testimony. One person's story of breakthrough, honestly told, can plant seeds of faith in 20 people. And if each of those 20 also experiences breakthrough and testifies, the multiplication is staggering. Your story is not just your story. It is a seed that, once planted in fertile ground, produces fruit you will never fully be able to count. When shared, your testimony also strengthens your own faith. There is a confirming, solidifying quality to speaking aloud what God has done, to formulating it in words, sharing it with others, hearing your own voice testify to what He did. This is one of the reasons I consistently instruct my people, throughout Scripture, to remember and rehearse what I have done. The rehearsal is not for me, I do not need reminding, it is for you. The regular rehearsal of what has been done builds a foundation of evidence that sustains faith through the next season of waiting. Comment now. My testimony matters. It glorifies God, plants faith in others, and strengthens my own walk. I will share it. Let this declaration be your commitment to treating your breakthrough not as a private possession, but as a public resource in the kingdom. Do not leave this message without the gift. My beloved child, you have come this far. You have sat with this message, opened yourself to the truth it carries, allowed it to speak to the places in your life that needed to hear it. Now, before you move on, let me be very direct with you about what is available in the first pinned comment. The resource there, the Code of Divine Inheritance, contains everything you need to make the declarations of this message produce lasting change rather than temporary inspiration. It contains the practical framework. It contains the specific principles. It contains the tools for building the atmosphere of expectation, for hearing God's voice in financial decisions, for stewarding breakthrough, and for sustaining and growing the abundant season you are entering. It is there because this moment, the moment when you have just been moved by a message and are deciding whether to act on it or move on, is precisely when the practical support is most needed. The inspiration of the message alone is not enough. Inspiration without application produces frustration, the frustration of knowing what is possible but not having the tools to make it real. The gift in the first pinned comment is the application layer. Go there. Take it. It was placed there for you specifically, for this moment specifically, and if, as you do, you feel the pull toward deeper access, you're out for her. The sustained, ongoing encounter with the messages and revelation that are released in this space. Follow that pull to the membership. It is not a commercial product. It is a spiritual invitation. The deeper waters are waiting for those who choose them. The first pinned comment holds the door open. Walk through it.